Welcome to the Explainer. So, here's the deal. Our global population is booming right now. It's literally climbing higher every single day. And with that massive rise comes a desperate, urgent demand for more food. But, relying on the old ways of farming, it simply isn't going to cut it anymore. We are standing right at the edge of a whole new era, and the solutions to this giant macro-level agricultural crisis are actually microscopic, yet totally massive in their impact.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today so you know exactly how we'll break down these complex concepts. First up, the Global Food Challenge. Number 2, mastering tissue culture. Third, genetically engineered supercrops. Fourth, high-tech pest control. And finally, sustainable farming for tomorrow.
Section 1. The Global Food Challenge. Let's get right into it.
Before we look at all these incredible tech solutions, we really have to understand the sheer massive scale of the problem we're trying to solve. How do we feed the future when traditional methods fall short? The stakes for global food security have literally never been higher. We're basically caught in a race between a rapidly growing human population and the hard physical limits of our agricultural land. Our current trajectory, it just isn't enough to meet the escalating demands of a changing world.
So if we look back centuries ago, humanity relied heavily on traditional breeding. The problem with that, it's incredibly slow. It just hasn't kept pace with our urgent need for new, high-yield crops. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and we experienced one of the most transformative periods in history, the Green Revolution. By using advanced management practices and going heavy on agrochemicals, fertilizers and pesticides, global food production actually tripled. It was a massive leap forward. But today, looking at the present and the future, we urgently need modern biotechnology to push past new barriers.
Now you might be wondering, why couldn't we just stick with the Green Revolution's methods? Well, those intensive agrochemicals, the fertilizers and pesticides that cause food production to triple, are prohibitively expensive for a lot of farmers in developing nations. The economic limitations of these past solutions mean they aren't exactly a silver bullet for everyone. To feed the whole world equitably, scientists realized they had to look past the big macro farm level and zoom way in to find microscopic solutions to this global problem.
Section 2, mastering tissue culture. This is where things get really cool. We're transitioning from looking at vast fields of crops down to the actual cellular level. And at the very core of this is something called totipotency. So totipotency is the absolutely remarkable ability of plant cells to grow into complete organisms. It's like biological magic. Because plant cells keep all the genetic potential of the parent plant, scientists don't even need a whole seed or a big cutting to grow a new generation. They just need a tiny microscopic cluster of cells to kickstart the whole thing into a fully mature, functioning organism.
Okay, so here's how this biological copy-paste process actually works in practice. First, scientists extract a tiny tissue sample, which is called an explant. Step 2, they pop this explant into a totally sterile environment inside a nutrient-rich medium. This medium is like a perfectly balanced cocktail of sugars, salts, vitamins, and growth hormones. Finally, step 3, they rapidly micropropagate genetically identical plants. So from just one single parent, farmers can create massive amounts of consistent, high-quality plants. It can even be used to recover healthy plants from an infected stock by cultivating disease-free cells, or get this, fuse different plant species together to create brand new hybrids.
All right, moving on to Section 3, genetically engineered supercrops.
Sometimes just copying the best plants through tissue culture just isn't enough to get the job done. When we really need crops to do things they've literally never done before, we have to actually alter their genetic makeup. And this brilliantly illustrates their versatility. By modifying them, we can engineer crops with increased resistance to severe environmental stresses, like droughts or super salty soil. We can also design them so they need way fewer chemical pesticides. We can even boost their baseline nutritional content. It's just a highly targeted way to solve very specific agricultural bottlenecks.
For a highly tangible, real-world application of this, consider golden rice. Golden rice is a genetically modified crop that's been specifically fortified with essential vitamin A. This completely showcases the nutritional benefits of GMOs in action. It's not just about growing more food, It's about growing food that actually works harder for human health, addressing specific nutritional deficiencies right down at the genetic level.
Which brings us to Section 4, high-tech pest control.
So pests are an absolute massive threat to global food security.
In the past, we relied really heavily on the old method, expensive, broad-spectrum chemical pesticides, and remember, those are the exact same chemicals we noted earlier that were just way too costly for many developing nations. Today, though, the new method relies on biological, genetic defenses that are built directly into the plants themselves. We're literally giving the crops their own internal armor. We're stepping away from that agrochemical past and running straight into a highly targeted biotechnological future.
So how exactly do we build that armor? Well, one major way is through Bacillus thuringiensis. Now, this is a bacterium naturally known for its insecticidal properties. By taking a specific gene from this exact bacterium and popping it into crops, scientists have created varieties like BT corn and BT cotton. These modified crops can now actually fend off pests naturally, from the inside out, without needing to be drenched in expensive external chemicals. Pretty wild, right?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is another cutting-edge method called RNA interference. We use this to combat threats like crop-destroying nematodes. It works by introducing specific genetic material into the plant that literally triggers the silencing of the harmful nematode's mRNA. Honestly, think of it like a genetic mute button. When the pest attacks the plant, this interference effectively prevents the nematode from surviving at all. It's an incredibly sophisticated, microscopic defense mechanism.
Let's bring it all home with Section 5, Sustainable Farming for Tomorrow.
All right, let's zoom back out to the macro level for a second. When we combine all of these microscopic tools, the tissue culture, GMOs, built-in bacterial armor, and that RNA interference mute button, the impact is just profound. Integrating these advanced biotech methods directly enhances global food production. And at the exact same time, because we're using far fewer broad-spectrum chemicals, it drastically reduces environmental harm. Working together, these breakthroughs completely pave the way for genuinely sustainable agricultural practices that can actually secure food for our future generations.
So, will these microscopic breakthroughs be the key to securing our macro future? The demand for food in our changing world is escalating fast. But as you've seen today, by really understanding and leveraging the remarkable science of biotechnology, we possess powerful new tools to cultivate real resilience. Thank you so much for joining me on this Explain.